Welcome back to CIA Declassified. Today we ascend to the edge of space where the air is too thin to breathe and the sky turns a bruised, deep purple. In the 1960s, while the world watched the Cold War unfold on the ground, the CIA was running a shadow war in the clouds. This was Project IDEALIST. Based out of a secluded airfield in Taiwan, a group of elite Chinese pilots known as the Black Cat Squadron took on missions that were essentially suicide runs. Their goal, to pierce the bamboo curtain and photograph the nuclear secrets of Mao Zedong. The operational reality of Idealist was one of total isolation and extreme technical precision. Project Idealist was the CIA code name for the operational use of the U-2 reconnaissance aircraft by the Republic of China Air Force, stationed at Taoyuan Air Base, Taoyuan. A quote from a 1963 mission briefing: "The pilot must maintain a constant speed and altitude to ensure the resolution of the terrain imagery remains within the required 5-centimeter variance." End quote. The Black Cat Squadron officially lost 15 aircraft during the project, with 5 pilots shot down and captured by mainland Chinese forces. The pilots wore specialized pressure suits that cost more than a high-end luxury car, designed to keep their blood from boiling if the cockpit lost pressure at 70,000 feet. Project Idealist cameras were capable of photographing a single golf ball on a green from 13 miles up in the air. A quote from a Black Cat pilot, I hope that I pronounced this at least mildly accurately, Colonel Chen Hui? Huai. I think it's Hui. "In the cockpit, you are the only soul in a silent world. You don't think about the politics. You only think about the fuel gauge and the horizon." End quote. The CIA used the U-2 to track the development of the Chinese nuclear test site at Lop Nor. To keep the program secret, the U.S. government officially claimed the planes were weather research operated by NASA. The declassification shows that Idealist pilots were given L pills, cyanide capsules, to use in case of capture to protect the agency's secrets. A quote from a 1967 CIA Special Intelligence estimate: "Imagery from Project Idealist has confirmed the deployment of SA-2 surface-to-air missiles around Beijing." End quote. The agency developed a quick-release film canister that could be ejected and caught in midair by a specialized C-130 transport plane. During the Cultural Revolution, Idealist provided the only reliable intelligence on the internal chaos and troop movements within the Chinese mainland. The declassification reveals that the U-2 planes were coated with a secret radar-absorbent paint that smelled strongly of rotten eggs when it got hot. Project Idealist was so sensitive that even the President of the United States had to personally sign off on every individual flight path. A quote from former Director of Central Intelligence Richard Helms: "Without the Black Cats, we would have been flying blind into the most populated nation on Earth." End quote. Analysts in Taiwan worked 24-hour shifts under magnifying glasses to count the number of trucks in Chinese supply convoys. The documents show that the CIA experimented with infrared film to detect hidden underground bunkers that didn't show up on standard photographs. The Black Cat insignia, a black cat with gold eyes, was designed to symbolize the ability to see in the dark and to have 9 lives. Idealist pilots were trained at a secret facility in the Nevada desert known as Area 51 before being deployed to Taiwan. A quote from an anonymous Black Cat pilot. The SAM missiles look like white telephone poles rising from the ground. When you see the flash, you have 10 seconds to decide your fate. End quote. The project officially ended in 1974 as the U.S. began to normalize relations with China, but secret contract flights reportedly continued for another year. The declassification includes stress profiles of the pilots showing that flying at 70,000 feet for 12 hours caused permanent changes to their heart rates. The agency used the U2 imagery to create the Mao Index, a measure of Chinese leaders' political health based on the activity around his private residences. Idealist cameras were so large they had to be lifted into the plane using a hydraulic crane. The files reveal that the Black Cat Squadron was the first to use electronic countermeasures to jam Chinese radar signals. A quote from a 1970 Pentagon debrief, "The resolution of the Idealist data has allowed us to map the entire Chinese railway network to within a 3-foot margin of error." End quote. The project discovered a secret Chinese submarine base that had been carved directly into the side of a coastal mountain. The declassification release contains audio logs of pilots talking to themselves to stay awake during the long, freezing solo flights. Operation Tackle was the secret name for the maintenance crew that worked in windowless hangars in Taiwan to keep the U-2s flying. A quote from a declassified 1965 CIA memorandum. "The survival of the Republic of China depends on the thin film strips returning from the mainland." End quote. The declassification shows that the CIA provided the pilots with blood chits, silk maps and messages in multiple languages, promising a reward for their safe return. Idealists proved that a single pilot in a single plane could gather more intelligence than 1,000 ground spies. The U-2 aircraft used in Idealist had wings so long and thin that they were often referred to as powered gliders, requiring chase cars to drive down the runway at 100 miles per hour just to help the pilot balance the wings during landing. A quote from a 1964 DIA technical review. "The physiological strain on the Chinese pilots is nearing the limit of human endurance at 72,000 feet. Even a minor tear in the pressure suit results in immediate fatal ebullition." End quote. To maintain total secrecy, the agency constructed a base within a base where American technicians were forbidden from speaking to any locals, and all waste, including food scraps, were incinerated to prevent scavengers from finding U.S. products. Declassified logs reveal that the Operation Catnip was a sub-program of Idealist designed to drop miniaturized high-frequency beacons onto mainland rooftops to act as navigation waypoints for future night flights. A quote from a 1969 CIA field agent reports, "The photographs returned by the Black Cats are so clear we can determine the rank of the officers standing on the deck of the new destroyers in Shanghai." End quote. While the flight paths are now public, a 1969 dossier titled Idealist Supplement 9, The Beijing Atmosphere, is entirely redacted. Why is the CIA hiding the chemical composition of the air over China? Get ready for the theory of the dragon's eye. Speculation suggests that Project Idealist wasn't just taking photos, but seeding the clouds with a psychoactive chemical agent. The theory claims the U-2s dropped microscopic submission dust over major cities, and the black redactions hide the behavioral maps showing how the population's resistance to authority dropped after every flyover. What if they never landed? A dark rumor suggests the CIA has a U-2 pilot who has been in the air since 1968, kept alive by Project Lifespan. The speculation is that the redactions hide the logs of a pilot who was infused with an experimental serum and a nuclear-powered engine watching the world change from 70,000 feet for 60 years without ever touching the ground. Could the cameras see the future? Speculation suggests the redactions hide Project Kronos lens, where the YouTube cameras were fitted with a lens that captured temporal echoes, and the black bars are photos of Chinese cities as they would look in 2026. Watch out for the inner Earth theory. It claims the redactions hide photos taken over Tibet that show massive artificial openings in the earth, leading to an underground civilization, and the CIA is hiding the coordinates. What if the planes were antennas? Some believe the redactions hide Operation Voice of God, where the U-2s broadcast ultra-low frequency messages that only the Chinese leadership could hear in their sleep, and the black ink covers the Mandarin script for the commands. Could they have had help? A wild rumor suggests the redaction had photos of non-human crafts flying alongside the U-2s to protect them from missiles, and the black bars are the interstellar flight formations. Brace for the amnesia altitude theory. It claims the redactions prove the pilots had to have their memories wiped after every mission because they were seeing the edge of the simulation, and the black ink covers the reprogramming logs. Some believe the redactions hide Project Vampire. Speculation suggests that pressure suits were actually designed to harvest high-altitude radiation from the pilot's blood to create a secret energy source, and the black bars hide the harvest yields. Beware the double Taiwan rumor. It claims the redactions hide the existence of a second identical airbase built entirely underground, and the black ink covers the tunnel schematics. Some speculate the black bars hide the doomsday shutter. The theory is that the camera captured a Chinese nuclear disaster that was so big it warped the local space-time, and the redactions are the reality stabilization codes. Beware the liquid circuit theory. It claims the U-2 photos were used to train the world's first AI in secret during the 70s, and the black redactions are the computer's first thoughts about human destruction. Are the pilots ghosts? A chilling rumor suggests the redactions hide Project Ectoplasm, where the agency used the energy residue of deceased pilots to continue flying missions, and the black bars are the medium transcripts. Check your coordinates for the Stargate signal theory. It posits that the blacked out file contains photos of the Great Wall of China from an angle that reveals it's actually a massive ancient circuit board designed to be seen only from the stratosphere. Is the sun a spy? A bizarre rumor suggests Project IDEALIST discovered the moon is actually a hollowed out Soviet listening post, and the redactions are the photos of the access hatches on the lunar surfaces. What if the mainland is a map? Speculation suggests the redactions hide evidence that the entire Cultural Revolution was a distraction to hide a massive terraforming project in the Gobi Desert, and the black bars cover the blueprints for a new continent. Brace for the telepathic thrust theory. It claims the U-2 engines didn't run on jet fuel at high altitudes, but on the concentrated fear of the pilots, and the redactions are the emotional octane ratings. Lastly, are the photos eating our brains? Some theorists suggest the high-resolution images in the redacted files are visual viruses that, once seen, allow the agency to control the viewer's optic nerve forever. Was Project IDEALIST a success? Operationally, it was a miracle. The Black Cat Squadron provided the only eyes the West had on a closed nuclear power for over a decade. Technologically, it was the foundation of the modern world. The declassification shows that the techniques developed for IDEALIST, from high-resolution digital imaging to radar-deflecting materials, are the direct ancestors of the smartphone in your pocket and the stealth fighters in the sky. It was a success that was bought with the lives of pilots who are still considered missing in action by the public, but heroes in the redacted files. As far as technological and operational breakthroughs go, the view from 70,000 feet changed the agency forever. Automated pattern recognition, the first use of primitive computers to scan thousands of photos for changes in the landscape. Extreme altitude physiology, breakthroughs in how the human body survives at the edge of space, later used by the Apollo astronauts. Optical rectification, the math used to flatten a curved photo of the Earth so it can be used as a map. Signal intelligence integration, the ability to match a specific photo with a specific radio signal detected at the same moment. Project IDEALIST proves that if you climb high enough, you can see everything, but you can't tell anyone what you've seen. The black cats flew in silence, lived in silence, and for many, died in silence. The next time you look at a satellite map on your phone, remember the men who had to fly those paths by hand, 70,000 feet above a world that wanted to shoot them down. Thanks for listening. Join us next time we examine Project Orphan. The agency was looking for messengers. We'll uncover the deeply obscure study of biotelemetry and migratory birds. We'll look at how the CIA tracked flight patterns across the Iron Curtain to see if the birds were carrying traces of Soviet nuclear testing or chemical leaks in their very blood. Join us next time for the Messengers of the Mist. In the meantime, I'll see you in the archives.